This is the ninth video we're making in 30 teams, 30 videos. Here we go. Let's spin this wheel, see who we get, who we're going to talk about, who we're going to talk about. Here we go. We are getting the Memphis, maybe Milwaukee. It's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks have had, for the most part, up until this point, an okay season. They haven't absolutely dominated. They've kind of been in the middle of the pack all year. They were up there for a little bit, but and Giannis has still had an MVP caliber season. But it's obviously been overlooked for the fact that SGA and Jokic are going off this year. But yeah, I mean the Bucks sit right now 40-32. I mean, as you can see, they're the sixth seed. Um, they they don't look too hot, especially with the Damian Lillard news come out, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to start with Giannis. And Giannis has had a phenomenal year, like I already said. If you go through literally every single game, he's somewhere on this statistically. Like, look at this. Honor the Cooper, honor the Cooper, honor the Cooper. This doesn't even look like a word anymore the more you look at it. But he's there for every single game. I don't know why he's not there. I'm not gonna look, but basically every single game he's there. My guess is he probably had some sort of injury. I think he did actually in that year. But look at this: like he's leading the team in rebounds. He's leading the team basically in points. Ryan Rollins was their leading. Oh boy. Oh, I forgot about that game. Yeah, that game sucked. No, the Giannis has had a very very good year. Very very good year, and he's vintage Giannis, if you will. And I think there's a case you can make for him to be the MVP. Now, I'm not saying he should win, but I think there's definitely a case that you could make for him because of how dominant he's been. So coming up on the trade deadline, the Bucks were still sitting kind of at the middle of the pack, a little higher, like I said, but they were kind of at the middle of the pack. And what happened was everyone was kind of expecting them to make at least a move, at least one move. Um, and that move was predicted to be Chris Middleton. They didn't know what for. I think Kyle Kuzma was rumored, and they ended up getting Kyle Kuzma, which a lot of people kind of questioned. They didn't know why the Bucks were going to do that trade, which makes sense. Like Kyle Kuzma has not been the most reliable player, but I think as a third option, he's been pretty good for them. But I think the first major injury news has happened, and it happened just a couple of days ago. Damian Lillard sustained a deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot in his right calf, and he's on blood thinning medication, and will continue with regular testing. He's out an indefinite period of time now. I don't really know much about uh, the health stuff, and I don't really know what that means. I'll look it up right now. According to AI, it says he'll be out like a month, but a month is the playoffs. So that's not good because you're going to get a Damian Lillard who is going to end up being very rusty. And the Bucks don't want that come playoff time, especially if they end up being a 6 seed or a playing team. I don't think playing is hyper realistic, but they're 5 games ahead of the Hawks, who are the 7 seed. But and obviously, I also want to say I'm not trying to make this Damian Lillard situation like, oh, the Bucks, like this is so important for the Bucks, which it is, but there's bigger issues than basketball. Basketball, excuse me. A lot bigger issues than basketball, and I hope Damian Lillard, I hope he gets better, and obviously that's more important. But I'm here talking about basketball, so I'm gonna keep talking about basketball. But like this Damian Lillard thing is brutal for the Bucks, and I honestly think this is a lot bigger deal than I think people think it is, especially if he's out for like AI says a month. Um, I don't know. I That's not good for the Bucks. I'm gonna go take a look at their depth and stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's really bad. That actually looks a lot worse now that you're looking at um, their depth chart. Torian Prince is fine, but like, especially come playoff time, like you're not gonna compete with you're not going to compete with teams like the Knicks, the Celtics, the Cavs. You're going to compete with any team like that. Let's say Damian Lillard gets healthy and he's back to normal form. I still don't think they would compete. Realistically, I think this team is probably a second round team, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it depends on who they would play round one, especially if they're the 6 seed. They would end up playing New York. No, they're a first round exit. Bucks are a first round exit. Man, that is brutal for Giannis. And now it gets me wondering. Actually, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but what does the Giannis market look like next year? This was about a month ago. Giannis saying he wouldn't ask for a trade. I mean, don't believe everything everyone says. We've seen it with many different players. And yeah, you can say Giannis is different. I don't, because he's still a superstar with a lot of money. So I'm not going to go that far. But there's people who have speculated, like it says, Milwaukee Bucks Giannis could be candidate to be traded as soon as the summer. And it says, but if he had it his way, he wouldn't leave the team anytime soon. But it says I'm not this kind of guy. I hope he stands by that, because I think if the Bucks end up trading Giannis to a bigger market team, I think the NBA is going to become toast here soon. Not really, but like, you get what I'm saying. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of anger that goes on, especially after the Luka trade. I think you're going to start losing a lot of fans if a guy like Giannis gets traded um, for Anthony Davis and picks or whatever, or pick. I don't know, but I'm gonna start up these Giannis trade rumors again, because I do think that if they don't go far in the playoffs, I think he's gonna become frustrated. Like, if you look at their payroll right now, obviously they have Lillard and Giannis and Kuzma locked up for the next few years. Um, Brooke Lopez is not gone after this year, but he's not under contract. Bobby Portis is under contract just next year, I believe. What does Green mean? Player option. He has a player option next season. I don't know if he'll take that, honestly. Bobby Portis could be valuable to another team. He hasn't had a great season this year, and I know he's a Bucks fan favorite. But I don't know. If he accepts it, great. I could still see him getting moved. He's just kind of old. Same thing with Pat Connaughton. I don't know. I mean, look at this. Jericho Sims not under contract. Torian Prince not under contract. Gary Trent not under contract. Uh, yeah, Ryan Rollins. They're starting point guard right now. No, they'll figure out. I don't know. So right now for next season they were gonna have Lillard, Giannis, Kuzma, Bobby Portis in theory, Pat Connaughton in theory, Kevin Porter Jr. in theory, AJ Green in theory, Okay, like, they're gonna have to make some major moves, and oh man, that's gonna be rough. They can keep this big three intact, and that's tough. So I guess your number one priority is make sure that you have a center, because if you don't have a center next year, it all goes down the drain. And I think Brooke Lopez isn't the best option anymore. I think he's especially as time goes on, he's gonna become more of a backup center in this league, um, which isn't a bold take by any means, but I think that could be next season for all I know. So obviously, this is all leading up to the question: where do the Bucks go from here? Your first priority is make sure Giannis is happy, because if he's not, you may lose your best player, and then you may lose Damian Lillard, and then you may lose Kyle Kuzma, and then everything falls apart, and who knows where you'll be in the next 3 years. That's number one. You need to keep Giannis. You need to make him happy. Number two is you need to find a way to give this team confidence, because going into this playoffs, I don't think they're going to be super confident, because Damian Lillard may be in, may be out. We don't know. It's an indefinite time period. So Doc Rivers needs to find a way to make this team confident in themselves, and maybe steal a couple games from a team. I don't think, I mean, they'll obviously expect to get past the first round, and they'll believe in themselves, I'm sure, but you need to find a way to build confidence that this team will be okay in the future and this season. And then number three is build a team. I can't say this enough to a lot of small market teams. You have to go all in on players, big time players, if you want to stick around. And you have to draft well, and you have to make sure you have picks if you want to make trades, if you want to make, I mean, all the things. You have to make sure you draft well. You have to make sure you trade well. You have to make sure you build a well built team, because you are not going to be an attraction for free agents. You're just not. Obviously, having Giannis helps, but you're not going to be an attraction for free agents. I've seen this as a Nuggets fan. We miss out on so many free agents just because we're such a small market team. We always have, and it's going to be that way until the NBA falls apart, or the Nuggets, or whatever, until small market teams start winning championship after championship after championship. But that's not going to happen. I don't know, guys. Bucks fans, let me know what you guys think about your team. Like and subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. Thanks for watching. Peace.